Black Cat Lounge is sponsored by Beacon, a home for those who have a passion for filmmaking and the unusual. The Haunted Hiddensdale House. Those who walk there do not walk alone. Paraware, apparel for the action-seeking paranormal investigator. Dragonfly art and soul for all of your magical, metaphysical, and spiritual needs. Mystery Control, your go-to feed for science, magic, true crime, the paranormal, and so much more. Niagara, one of the top rated destinations in Western New York. The Black Cat Lounge is part of the Paraflix Entertainment Network. Everybody, Tim Shaw here, and it's so great for you guys to be sharing your Tuesday nights with me as always. You know what? Are you guys melting as much as I am? I feel like a fudgicle on a street in the summer. It is that warm here. I am just like amazed, and it is like, it's insane. It's just, for me, I can't believe that I was out there. I remember what I used to do for like a real job. I used to be out there, and I used to go and I'd be doing asphalt work and cutting trees and laying concrete. I don't know how I ever did it. Now the sun goes up a little bit. Temperature's about 78. I got to go hide in the basement. That's the way it works. But anyway, we have a guy here with us that doesn't hide in basements. Just to let you know that. The guy is out there. He's an amazing guy. So let me just, you know what? I'm not even going to go, and I'm not going to do my normal blah, blah, of what I've been up to and everything. You guys kind of know. If you guys have been following me on Facebook, you guys know, about our recent foray into incarceration, into a jail that we've been in, and a couple other things. But I want to bring him on because he is just an amazing gentleman. He is someone who is like, I have really, first of all, I can't believe that we've known each other for so long, but also he's just a great person, and he's all over the place. He is one of the globe. I'm just going to go say he's a globetrotter. He's amazing. He's here, there, and everywhere. I believe he just came back from Ireland, and he's one of the commentators on the hit show Paranormal, Caught on Camera. You've seen him on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Paparazzi, Netflix 28 Days Haunted, Paranormal Locked Up, Portals to Hell, Ripley's Believe It or Not, as well as a resume that, by the time I'm done saying everything that he's been doing, the show'd be over. You know what? He's either interviewed or has moderated a panel that some of the greatest stars in the sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal world have been on. The guy is unbelievable. He is just like, he's created just, I gotta say, you know what? He has created the term paranormal paparazzi, or paranormal pop culture. That's the proper term. Paranormal pop culture. He's amazing. His life has, if he's got a couple minutes left in his normally insane life, he has a fantastic podcast, and it's called Talking Strange on the Den of Geek Network. Aaron is so vast. What he does is he's such a talented individual. He's a creative writer. He's a producer. He is out there constantly looking for angles. He's looking for so many different things, and he's a person that I met so many years ago at I think it was at the old Iron Island Museum in Buffalo, New York. Let's welcome somebody who I'm so thrilled that he took the time out of his unbelievable, insane schedule to come on. Mr. Aaron, the man, the myth, the legend, Sagers. Aaron, there he is. Aaron. Wait a minute. Aaron, by the way, is taking time, and he is an unnamed tiki bar in the bowels of the city someplace where what you do there is never reported. But anyway, Aaron, how are you? It's good to see you back, my friend.
Tim, thank you so much for having me on, sir. I appreciate it. I'm excited. It's been a while since I've been on here.
Yeah.
Even though, I saw you recently, about 2 months ago.
Yeah,
but
we were up at Mansfield. We were at the Mansfield Reformatory together.
That's right, for Parapsychon. And yeah, that was good times. Me texting you, Tim, are you going to make the bus?
You know what? Listen. Thank you. You got to understand, Johnny Zaffis and I are at that age where we have to have handlers. And when we don't have handlers, Aaron Sager has got our numbers and he's texting us, are you going to get here? Did you have breakfast? Did you change your underwear? Make sure you take a shower before you come to jail. He's always taking care of us. What can I say, Aaron? Thank you so much.
I'm pretty good about the taking the showers on my own and the clean underwear, but I also need handlers and reminding, because I kind of sometimes at those events, like I know someone's going to probably tell me where I'm supposed to be. So my brain is probably in a million different directions. So I'm probably not retaining the information about pickups at 8 a.m. So then someone lets me know, but because I don't like to leave people behind, and then I'm thinking, well, I would have been the one left behind if someone hadn't let me know. So then I reached out to you. So, but the clean underwear part, yeah, I'm pretty good on staying on top of that.
Okay. Listen, you're a world traveler. I'm sure you've had your luggage mysteriously disappear and then reappear. You have to have clean underwear. That's all there is to it.
It's very necessary. And actually, I don't know. I almost don't want to jinx myself. I've been pretty lucky throughout my travels as far as maintaining luggage. There's been some that have gone missing for a little bit, but I've had a pretty good track record. But that said, it is always a good idea to just throw an extra pair of boxers in your bag along with some basic toiletries, because
yes,
even if the luggage doesn't get lost, you could find yourself stuck in an airport on a layover and in Australia for something like 12 hours, and eventually you're going to need a fresh pair. And yes, that is an actual experience.
Yep. Well, you know what? 28 hours with Zaffis in the men's room in the Detroit airport. That taught me a lot of things. Most we can't talk about here on the air, but you know how that is. Anyway,
I'm both intrigued and also don't know that I want to know that story. So
you might be a little horrified. Just a tad. Aaron, listen, I want to, all these years I've known you, I've never sat you down and asked you your backstory. I mean, myself, I've always kind of been into it, my family and everything, and being brought up on Hammer films and seeing all the real late shows, the old Frankenstein and Bela Lugosi and all, but I never asked you about yours. What is it that kind of brought you into the genre? Because I know that you were all over. You were not in the beginning a 100% dyed-in-the-wool, para sci-fi fantasy journalist. You did other things before that. So, I mean, what brought you into this crazy field? I mean, is it something that you've always been into? Is it something you've been as a kid or what?
Right. So my origin story.
Yes.
Well, my planet was doomed and my parents sent me in a rocket. No, sorry. My parents, after a show, decided to walk down Crime Alley, and then there was this the radioactive spider. No. I mean, I've always been into it. I've always been a big nerd, period. But for me, and I'm kind of just out of reach, I can see the an edition of the Time Life Mysteries of the Unknown, and the one that I'm looking at is the UFO Phenomenon book, because I was just recently busting that out and taking another look at it. So these were those quarterly or whatever books that would come out by Time Life. I didn't have a subscription to them, but I remember distinctly the commercials that were, you phone in to sign up, but it was like, a man in Peoria, Illinois gets a sudden feeling like something bad is about to happen. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, and that kind of thing. So I loved those at a young age. So for me, it was comic books, it was science fiction, it was horror, it was Twilight Zone, and then also it was the Time Life books. It was reading Hans Holzer or ghost stories or Bigfoot stories. So it's kind of funny because there was a time where the paranormal people, once the genre started gaining attention, like it started becoming mainstream around 2004, 2005, all the shows were getting that kind of current wave, that wave that somewhat continues today. There were people that wouldn't refer to themselves as like pop culture nerds or even would admit that they like Ghostbusters early on. It was like, no, that's what got me into this, is reading about the stuff, but also consuming the pop culture. So that was all part of it for me. So I didn't see a delineation between loving ghost stories and loving the paranormal with loving the pop culture. And then job-wise, I did some hard news journalism early on in my career, wrote about pretty much anything that people would pay me to write about. But once I started getting a little bit more leeway, I was able to write more about science fiction and pop culture. And then when the show Ghost Hunters came out, they came out 2004, and then 2005 is when they kind of started in their regular. One was a special, I think, and then they started airing episodic entries. And I started writing about it for a newspaper, and I said this is going to catch on with people, and sure enough, it did. And I also was talking about how this emerging thing called social media was going to allow people to reach across their county lines, their state lines, national borders. They wouldn't have to be the weirdo parent at the PATA meeting talking about the paranormal. Instead, they could find their tribe all around the world. And I said that's going to contribute to this genre becoming big in a way that we hadn't seen before. And sure enough, I was right. It wasn't like a brilliant prediction, but it was something that I saw and picked up on. And then I started kind of tracking the pop culture trends of the paranormal, and people liked it, wanted me to do more. And then somehow this face ended up on TV. It was none of it was planned that way. It's just like with most things in my life, in my career, I kind of just chase what interests me at the moment. And it's opened up a lot of doors, being kind of authentically in love with the stuff you're talking about. So I definitely did some regular journalism and everything. But for me, it all goes back to being that little nerd, less facial hair, that was into all of this stuff.
Aaron, you hit something that I really wanted to ask you about. I think that so many people right now in the current day, they lack that authenticity. I hate to say that, because it's almost like I don't, and this is something that's coming in even from I would say even the psychic world, someone who has used to be part of the whole, I'll just say the whole circus. People that don't want to work for a job or work for a living. They don't want to have to work. They want to be a part of this so that it becomes their job. And to me, that's not being authentic. You have to be authentic. You have to love it. You just can't walk in and say, well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because I think I can make some money at it, And I think that people see right through that. And I think that has always been your success, why you've been successful, because people meet you and you're genuine.
But thank you for saying so.
Well, no, really. I mean, I don't blow smoke up anybody's ass. I mean, I've known you for a while, and I really feel that you've been genuine. You've always been enthusiastic. And no matter what project that you've been involved with, you have given it 110%. I have to tell you, I enjoy when you're involved in a project, and I enjoy going and watching you at your panels because I can tell the amount of work that it takes for you. I think the greatest compliment that anybody could give you is the fact that knowing the amount of research, knowing the amount of stuff that you work at, you sit up there at these panels and or like an interview, a one-on-one interview, and you make it look simple. How much research, how much time do you prepare for that? Don't tell me an hour, because then I'm just going to, I'm going to go and just like turn this off.
Well, thank you for all those nice words. And also, I want to say, now that I'm seeing comments pop up, hi to everyone out there. Thanks for joining us live. So, and thank you, Jason, for saying that about Con on Camera. I love doing that. And yeah, so I'm kind of at this stage, I think, because I'm really become quite reflective about my place in all of this and looking at my career. The first thing I'll say is, like, I think what has allowed me to survive doing the paranormal stuff, but also just any of the career stuff, is that my entire career has been within the media in some form or another, and sure, it started out as a reporter and then, journalist, and then covering a lot of different beats and genre, and then taking on stuff down the road that ended up being on camera stuff or producing shows or whatever it might be. But I think the fact that I've just, because my career was already in the media, I had to learn how to navigate media, but also be aware that things come and go. And this genre, not just the paranormal, but all genres have their moment and then kind of fade away and then come back. And I've definitely had my fair share of taking my lumps, had failures, things like that, and then try to learn from it, but keep on trucking, keep on moving forward. But I do, I love the stuff that I talk about, and I try to have that really be evident, but also share it with others instead of try to keep that love and joy for myself. And realize that, sure, it's cool to be on TV. It's fun. I'm not going to act like it's not fun. It's really fun. It's cool.
It is.
But also know that goes away. So you still have to have some other irons in the fire. You have to be able to adapt and try different stuff. And I will say, just pick up on what you said, some people maybe approach things as they want to be on TV and they want to be a face. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, but if you're going to pursue that, you still need to have some sort of substance and something to say. If you're the foremost expert on Star Wars shirts, cool. Just have something to say. But also be able to do that thing because you love it independently of you getting attention for it. So that way, if the attention doesn't come, you're still doing something you love. But if the attention does come, then cool, that's a bonus. I do take issue with people that pursue the face side of things, but do it in some questionable ways. That's where it gets hard for me to not kind of call some of that stuff out. And but yeah, I mean, like, loving what you do. As far as the preparation side of things, it all depends on who I'm talking to and what I'm doing. You do this thing kind of long enough that there's just some stuff that's hardwired into you, and you have a toolkit, a mental toolkit that you pull from. But I really hate it when I go in to interview someone, and if I ask a question, they're like, yeah, everybody asked me that question. I'm like, damn it. I don't want to be asking you the same questions everybody else is asking. So I do try to research a lot.
Wait a minute. What you mean is, what I'm asking you these questions.
It doesn't bother me at all, because being an interviewer, I hope, has made me a better interviewee, because I know what it's like on that side as well. So, but yeah, I do try to do a lot of preparation, and how much, it really all depends on the person and how long I have with them. On Caught on Camera, I do a lot of research. And I would say for that one, probably a solid day of research for, 2 episodes, maybe. So, and I could do even more research too. Sometimes I go down this rabbit hole where I'm just like, I need to pull back because there's a lot more to cover. But yeah, some of it is just hardwired into you.
You know, it's amazing because I sit there and I'm sitting here just listening to you, and I'm thinking to myself, you are the product of this lifetime of childlike wonderment. And it's something that is ingrained within you, which is something that I've been just preaching. I've been doing a lot of I hate to say older people, talking to them and getting out there and doing my presentations. But I keep trying to go and say two things. One is just when you get a little bit older, keep yourself moving. But second of all, don't ever lose that childlike wonderment of what you love, because that alone will keep you going. And that is what you need to keep going. And, you know, Aaron, you're one of those people that will always have that. And that's what I think. That's why I think you're so successful, because you have that, and that shows through in your true authenticity. And that's what I think is really important in life.
And again, thank you. I mean, I agree, because, you know, I'm the person that when I travel, and I'm fortunate to travel a lot, I really, truly am grateful for these opportunities. But when I'm traveling, even though ghosts might be a bit, or, you know, talking about the paranormal might be a big part of the job, I'm like, let's go on a ghost tour, a ghost walk. See what this town has to offer as far as this thing goes.
Yes.
Even if it's a place I know very well, I want to see what everybody else has to say. Not to critique, not to like say, well, actually, but to see what else is going on out there. I love the exchange. It's, you know what it is? It's community and fandom. It is joy. It starts from that joy and that wonderment, which, yes, put me down if I ever lose that. Because even this job, sometimes it can be draining. It's a lot. It's energetically taxing. And I'm freaking excited and fortunate for it that I'm like, okay, yeah, you're tired, but you also get to wander around this jail at night as part of your job. But then it's the community and the fandom. And even though, you know, a D&D role-playing tabletop community might be different than the paranormal one, it might be different than Star Trek, might be different than comic books, there's these crossover of characteristics, and in loving that thing and engaging in that thing with others who love it, and then being infectious about it, that it truly fills my heart, but it feeds me as well, because then I have another person to bounce this stuff off of. So, yeah, and anybody that doesn't love this stuff, or is burnt out on it, or tired, or bitter, or cynical about whatever fandom they're operating in, or whatever, don't do it. It's easy enough to go do something else.
Exactly. And this is, you know what, this is what I keep telling people. You know what, if you ever get tired of doing it, if you ever lose that love of doing it, take that break, do something else. And then if you want to recapture it, try it again. And if you don't have it, go do something else. You know what? Who writes the rules of your life? You do.
Yeah.
You know what? Bottom line is, you've got to be able to go, and you got to have a fulfilling life, and you got to have that love, and you got to have that creativity, and you got to have that wonderment. Because without any of those, you might as well just sit there and just, you know, stare at the wall or lick stamps or something. That's what you're going to end up doing. Hey, wait a minute. Jason says, and you also know your way around a cocktail. That's
Hey Jason, and thank you for knowing that. Yeah, I don't. A lot of people know that I love cocktails, and I do love tiki cocktails in particular. And that is a strange. I'm not drinking a tiki cocktail right now, but the tiki thing, I love that it's become associated with me, probably because I'm wearing so many colorful shirts constantly. But you look back at baby Aaron. I was raised, I went to Catholic school and went through most of my child education through that, and we had to wear uniforms. But when you look back at the photo days, it would be me wearing some sort of Hawaiian shirt. And I assure you, that was long before I discovered rum. So it was ingrained at me somehow. I guess, you know, also being a beach kid growing up in Florida, but something about the tropical vibe. it was always present in me. So then I was able to actually sample the wares, the rums, and I was like, well, this is pretty good too. And then started figuring out how to make my own concoctions. I love it. And again, that kind of extends the community and the fandom as well. There's a lot of tiki heads out there. The tiki community is pretty wild too. And like going to these places, it just fills you with so much joy to go into a themed bar, a Polynesian bar, and just soaking all up. And yes, Jimmy Buffett too. I will say, Darcy, and hi, Darcy. Yeah, I am a Parrot head. I am a Buffett fan, but that is oddly separate from my tiki love. Two very different kinds of fandoms, in my opinion, and communities. I won't bore you with my TED talk about it, but I love them both, but they're two different things.
It's so true. It's so true. Oh my God, we have a great guest tonight. We have the legendary Aaron Sager, star of everything that may walk, talk, or be projected on a screen. That's the way we're gonna. That's the way we're gonna describe you.
Wildly inaccurate, but I'll take it.
Take it and run. Just take it and run.
Yeah.
You can listen. You can give me $1 tomorrow or whatever. You can send it in the mail. Whatever you want. Hey, I want to ask you something. Who, as a writer, inspires you? Because I was brought up like reading Tolkien. I was, Peter Straub. Of course, Stephen King. Richard Matheson was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Who was it that really inspired you?
Well, writing wise, just because you said Matheson, I adored from a young age the Twilight Zone. And later I realized how much I realized the beauty of the script, of the writing. It took me a while to I had to get a little bit older to appreciate how great the scripts were. But yeah, I was Ray Bradbury, Matheson, Isaac Asimov a lot when I was younger. And that's where your horror, sci-fi, fantasy, of course, Tolkien. But then there was some of my favorite writers, Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yes. I like both the sci-fi and the humor of that. Kurt Vonnegut is one of my all-time favorite authors.
Absolute classic. He's one of the only writers that I really wish that I could have met in person.
Same. Yeah, and I've been, like you said at the top of the show, I've been fortunate to meet a lot of people, and many of those people have been heroes of mine. And interviewing someone that's a hero is incredible. Vonnegut was a missed opportunity, and it was possible within my professional lifetime to have met him, and I missed out on it. So that one, but I still love his work. And I have, just like out of reach of everything right now, I have I was rereading Slaughterhouse-Five, which I've read many times, so I've got a kind of thumb through book of that. Classic. And then
it's a beautiful it. You know what? I look at it as his wartime reminiscences, and it is just so poignant. And the whole Dresden scenario that he writes about is to me is just mind-blowing, and it always has been, and the aftermath anyway. But I just loved his I just loved his prose. I've seen him do interviews, and he was interesting. Don't get me wrong, he was interesting.
Yeah.
But for some reason, his prose just it's almost like otherworldly the way he would write.
Yeah, a colleague of mine did meet him. I'm guessing it was the late 90s, and said that he was getting older, and I think he passed away in like 2008, maybe 7, 8,
somewhere around there,
right. Yeah. And he was getting on in there, but we still have the books, and that is I think maybe if I had met him and walked away disappointed, that would have impacted my feelings about the book. So now I still have the books without having that complication. But and then of course, like multiple Stephen Kings that I'm looking at. So Stephen King was one that there would be days that if I was home from school, I could tear through an entire book in an afternoon, and then start the next one. And I remember the
Yes.
first time I was home from school, and I was sick, and I was reading. I distinctly remember reading The Gunslinger for the first time, and yeah, and authors like I was exposed to Holzer early on, and Harry Price, because actually Harry Price, that same Time Life series put out not just the big glossy books, but they put out some other paranormal books, and I remember having one from Harry Price. But yeah, and then there's the comics and everything. So yeah, I think that my brain, and I'm not alone in this, like I just took in so much information that I'm a product of like just the sum total of all of that. And yeah, I like to think that kind of prevents me from, maybe ever taking myself too seriously, but also remembering that with regards to the paranormal stuff, we need to be serious at times, and we obviously need to be respectful. That's of utmost importance, but you can have fun with this, and it doesn't always have to, I don't think it should be somber and macabre and all of those things.
Yes. I'll tell you, Aaron, when we start talking about this, I mean, I'm coming back from a parochial school Catholic boy slash spiritualist kid, growing up under those two guises, those two influences. And I think the biggest problem that we do have is things are, number one, are hidden, but number two, they become too regimented, too serious, which is one of the biggest reasons why I've tossed almost all of my religious beliefs out the window. I mean, the dogma is gone. And it goes, and I mean, I knew the late Ray Buckland, and I've got a chance to meet some of the really big names back in the day. But even a lot of the traditions that they've started, it was just too strict. It was just like, I guess people need ritual. I guess they do. I'm not one of those people that needed it, because I just felt that what we do should be full of joy. And I mean, I think that's the love of a good novel, the love of a good thriller, a good horror movie, or especially a horror movie. Let's think about that. It takes you on a trip. It takes you on a trip. It hypnotizes you, and you go and you just flow with it. And then at the very end, you're like, and it gives you that full experience. That's why I think that we shouldn't be as strict as whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe that we should have scientific, some scientific modalities with it and some techniques and stuff. But when we talk about the overall, I think we should be in it for the joy of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the approach to find a scientific way forward with the paranormal is definitely a worthwhile
I agree.
I don't think that we are doing it on investigations because it's not a controlled environment, and it
very much
I am not a scientist. I think that we need to, yes, certain regiments are good to follow, but let's not mistake it for science.
But I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to watch out for. Now, I know some people who are not out to prove or disprove anything. They're just out there to collect data. I love that. I think it's a great thing. They're trying to establish patterns. I think that's 100% right on. But then we have all these people running around under the guise of pseudoscience, and everybody has got a little something with a flashing light on it, or we've got we've got an app that's that may or may not be hooked up into our GPS of our phone, and it's spitting out things, and people are out there taking all this so seriously, and they're trying to go, and they're missing the point of it. They should be going and understanding the scientific part, but they also need to be able to go and understand that, you know what, this is in the realm. Some of this stuff is definitely in the realm of entertainment. And being somebody like yourself who has worked in reality TV, we have to be able to go and take everything with a grain of salt.
I say, yeah, and with some of the devices, a lot of the devices, and I'm not even immune from this. I'm not going to say that I've never done it, but it can become an instance of the, of instead of the dog wagging its tail, it's it's the tail wagging the dog, because then we start getting distracted and then just following it around, like, oh, it lit up, it must be saying yes, or oh, what, and now I'm getting this word coming out of my app, so does that mean it sounded like apple, so you like apples, and then suddenly you're off the rails. And I'm not saying I'm immune from this. I've certainly gotten caught up in it, and I get it.
We all have.
My approach, yeah, is like, I know I'm not a scientist. I know that but I also kind of have an idea of what my mission is with regards to the paranormal. And when I go into these places, I prefer these days just really more of a as few gadgets, if any, on these things, just so I can be in the space and soak it up. Maybe an audio recorder, but I'm there to feel it, to let it kind of wash over me, but also if there is someone there that would like to make conversation and a connection, instead of me interrogating them through blinking lights, I try more of a humanistic approach to, see. And also, I always say, be the people of the party you want to talk to. So being friendly, being chatty, not interrogating, not having a random set of like unrelated questions, and also engaging and talking with the other people that are around you, and maybe inviting someone in to join your party, yeah. So I guess it comes down to people's approach and mission on these things. And since you also kind of went through a religious education, for me, I never officially broke from the Catholic Church. I never officially said, I don't believe in this stuff anymore. But I do know that those institutions weren't really feeding me. I wanted it. I wanted to go be at mass and be like, oh, I get it now. I didn't really get that. I would get that in nature, my at the beach. I would get it, elsewhere. But then I find myself, especially at this point in my existence in the paranormal community, I find that this is kind of my church in a way. Not that it's a religious philosophy, but it's more like the questions, the riddles, the mystery of it all feeds me more than going to mass did. And it's personal. It's, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I walk out of a location and I'm like, even if it's a night where nothing happens, I'm still thinking. I'm kind of opened up a little bit more. I'm like processing things. And then the next step is for it to kind of fulfill me. And it's a strange thing, but I get kind of more out of this as being spiritually fulfilled than I ever did from church.
Well, here's the bottom line is, if you look at almost every major religion and the majority of the minor religions, you will see the similarities across the board. And all it is a question of semantics. I debated a friend of mine who's an exorcist, right? I debated him. I don't believe in angels. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in that. It's not. I don't believe in it. He said to me, Tim, what about this? What do you, well, that's like a lower, like a lower vibe, blah, 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 blah. What is this? Well, it's like a higher vibe, finer energy and all that. He goes, what do you think an angel and a demon is?
Yeah.
It's just the name. You know what? It was an epiphany, Aaron. And after that, ever since then, I started looking at all the different similarities and how everything is cross culture. It's right across the board.
Yeah.
And I went, oh my God. So basically, if we strip away everything that it's been put in place to control the masses. We strip that away. What do you have? You have the similarities across the board. The names have changed, but the actions are the same.
For sure. I love that. That's my favorite thing about where I'm at in this kind of journey is you're talking to people, going to events, hearing their stories, traveling around the world, but also and within the scope of that, hearing about this story over here from a people that never interacted with these people over here telling a story that the names may be different, but the phenomena is so remarkably similar to the point of it being mind-blowing, and also shows how much we are connected as opposed to different and separate. And I love that. And I really, truly, from my heart of hearts, believe it's something I'm really trying to do with this career and the next projects to get off the ground, is showing that we have all of this crossover with phenomena, and we should be open to like bringing it all in and acknowledging how similar it all is. That is something I think we're able to do with, not to just shamelessly plug, but Paranormal Caught on Camera. I have been so fortunate with this show, and I've been involved in many projects, some that I have more control in. And yet I love this show because we travel around the world every episode, and we have been able to not just talk about ghosts or a flying saucer or a Bigfoot potential cryptid, but kind of bizarre legend type of stuff. I'm thinking like wee folk, like leprechauns over here, and then duende over here, and the domovoy over there, and how all of these things are so remarkably similar across the board. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm especially happy that, like, with Caught on Camera, that has become such a fascinating element of the show that even if you don't like the clip, you're still going to get some data drop, folklore, history lesson, something. And it makes it just so fulfilling for me to be a part of.
To me, it validates the universal belief that mankind has. It's a universal thing. It's something that's like, just because we're so different doesn't mean that we're actually that different. We're more the same than we are being apart. And I think that's what I love about it, because it does bring a lot of camps together, because yourself, the paranormal people can't talk to the ufologists. The ufologists people, oh my God, let's not talk about the cryptids. Oh my God, wait a minute. There's a sighting with cryptids and UFOs and this and there was a miracle. A guy was cured. It's all the freaking same, guys. It's all the freaking same. The actions are different, but the bottom line is it's all the same. Can't it all work together?
I think that's shifting a bit, that the camps are meeting more and crossing over more. And I would even say, I hope I'm not, stepping on toes or anything, but I would say, like, obviously we had the movements, the spiritualism movements, post Civil War, World War I, and then we saw it, and we've seen it in various other, all this, and we've seen it in various other forms. I would even say, like, post 9/11, what led to essentially the paranormal reality TV shows, that was a form of spiritualism. Suddenly people were taking to social media. Maybe it wasn't a theology, but taking to social media and watching these shows because they needed to find some sort of, understanding a little bit more about what's in there.
Yeah. And a lot of people needed a Band-Aid for their soul.
Yeah.
And that's what they needed. And all of a sudden it was there. It gave them something to be hopeful about and to work and see beyond the terror that had happened.
And now we're in a whole new phase that I call it kind of neo-spiritualism or postmodern spiritualism, where it was already building, but then really moved along very quickly during COVID and in the wake of COVID, where it's expanded, and and then you introduce elements like TikTok and suddenly the way I view it now and the way I'm seeing is it like people talking about those old ways of fairies, of wee folk, of, you know, other elementals and bigger picture types of things instead of just ghosts
Right.
and it's getting weirder in a good way. The weird pool has gotten a lot bigger and deeper in a good way. So I think that this is how the version of spiritualism we're living through right now is representative of that. And and as you kind of touched on, you know, religions, organized religions typically serve to separate, but also institute rules. This that's emerging is not rule based and it's not based on separation. It's about everybody into the weird pool. And it's
I agree. I agree.
really glorious to see, honestly, in my opinion, because they're not being held back by the organized bodies, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And we know for a fact, I know I can attest that before COVID, being someone who had served the pulpit in various
Yeah.
ways, I understood the limitations of dogma and I understood what I could and could not, was not allowed to do. And yet when COVID hit, all of a sudden everything blew wide open. And I think that's for me, even though I had been on the air and CBS and all that other stuff for years, all of a sudden for me, it was like a new awakening. And I think a lot of people felt that way. And I think a lot of, while I don't feel because of StreamYard or streaming
Yeah.
and all that other stuff, I don't feel that we're going to get that upswing again like we had before in, let's say, the paranormal genre or whatever, you know, the cryptid genres and all that. I don't think we're going to get it as powerful, but there's such an undercurrent now. And if you go on YouTube, go on TikTok, you go and you'll start seeing this. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people out there doing some great work. And they are not just doing the work, but they're actually understanding and they're starting to think about what's going on. And that to me is so gratifying.
And that's why I don't look down upon, I encourage new voices to come in, and whether it's via TikTok or YouTube or
Mm-hmm.
wherever. And I want more people, and I want a more diverse group of people, more representative group of people that are bringing their experiences, their research, and expanding the scope of all of this. I mean, I don't know if we're going to ever label it as science, but I think we can at least expand our perception, our ideas about what's out there when we start listening to one another and bringing in all these different voices.
Exactly. I've been fortunate because I've had a couple really great guests that have come on to talk about that.
Yeah.
And bottom line is we're not ready for it because we don't have the scientific, we can't measure it. It's not repeatable. We can't measure it. Phenomena. But think about it years ago. Radio waves. That was voodoo, man. That was voodoo when you think about that. You think about just common physics that we take for granted every day. This is voodoo.
Yeah.
So it may just take time. It may just take, brilliant minds to sit down and figure this out and build upon what we've done today. And that's what I think is so exciting about what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I am incredibly grateful to do it. And I freaking love that anywhere I go in the world, you sit at a coffee shop or at a bar, and even if you're not bringing it up, someone eventually is going to be like, yeah, so about UFOs, or they'll say, so glass will move or whatever, like must be a ghost, and then someone else is gonna be like, well, we are haunted, and then you're off to the races. I adore it. Like, so and it just fits into the kind of the same thing. I like talking about nerdy stuff. I love that people are talking about characters like Mole Man from Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And if they're also then going to be talking about the Aswang from the Philippines in relation to paranormal phenomena, I love that. So I'm excited that people are increasingly into all this stuff.
I think it's so important. And I think what you've done over the years, Aaron, And I mean, again, I remember you when you and Dr. Spector were out there with a little tripod and a little
Yeah.
Panasonic camcorder and just asking questions. But you've
I
given
was
people.
well, Tim, let me sorry for interrupting you.
Go ahead.
It
Go
blows
ahead.
my mind because back in the day, you know, when I launched the paranormalpopculture.com site, and I keep thinking I need to give that a polish and go back to that because I haven't really touched it in a while. But we would do these, we would call them at the time live blogging, where I was out during investigation filming and trying to film live or rushing back and uploading that footage for the audience. And it wasn't called StreamYard. I forget what the platform was, but it was a different platform. And it was magical at the time. It was cutting edge. And now it's like an 8-bit, you know, video game or whatever, comparatively. So I look back, I'm like, damn it, I was live streaming. Like that, I was live streaming before it was called live streaming.
You were always ahead of the game, Aaron.
I don't know about always, but I'm like, wow, that was something kind of cool that I was doing, and also incredibly frustrating because even 15 years ago, we didn't have the cell signals everywhere to be able to push out like live video and things like that. A lot of frustrating nights, but pretty wild run.
You were lucky if you got a hotel room that had some kind of Wi-Fi. I always remember that.
Oh, geez, yeah.
You know, or if it did, it had a router. It was in a laundry room someplace else that was encapsulated, and you had to run a 200-foot cord out from the router.
And data was expensive if you were doing it off of your phone. I mean, because of the job as a journalist, I always had to I was always kind of on top of the technology side of it on the phone. So, but even, you know, looking back, those 2007 first iPhone that I had wasn't exactly capable of putting out what we're doing now.
Exactly. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And I mean, I have to say that you've been around, you've been along for that whole ride. And to me, that is something that is a testimony to your dedication to the craft. And that's what that's why I always respected you. Listen, you know what? I want to ask you a question. Somebody actually had sent me a question. Sure. The big thing that people really want to know is what fuels your creativity? What is it that just keeps you just working and pushing and sitting there? And I know everybody gets their dull, their little lumps and their, where they can't, sure, they hit those blocks. But what is it that just makes you keep climbing out and just going and just creating and thinking and wanting to go and create?
Okay. It's a hustle, and it can be real tiring, and it can be, if people see the end product, but they don't always see, how the sausage is being made, and it can be pretty ugly, pretty gruesome.
Yes.
But I think it sounds schmaltzy, but I do really think the love of the material keeps me going. Like being able, as you said, kind of like the childlike joy of being excited to go talk about superheroes and then go talk about spooky things. And then the interactions with other people who are into it. Again, that community, that fandom keeps me going. And when you're at a wedding, as I was recently, and people come up, either introduce you as the ghosty guy or whatever, and then they want to talk about it, want to share their stories. It's pretty awesome. I mean, sure, everybody has their times where they want to, not do it, not do the job, but it's so cool when you're like, hey, this is pretty cool that this person's come up and sharing a story. Or
I always think of it as an honor.
It is such an honor. It is such an honor that they feel like they can share it with you. And or even when I'm doing an interview with someone that's not at all in the paranormal, and then they start telling me a story, they're like, I never told this before. I'm like, this is freaking great. It's awesome. Curiosity, wonder, and then just, truly, sincerely loving talking about it and sharing it with others.
Last question for you, Aaron.
Yeah.
And this is one that I only reserve for friends. This is a question that I really feel that I like to go, and I like, it's a little bit of a crazy question,
Lay it
but
on me.
I know that you can answer it. And okay, here it is. At the end of it all, you're gone. They're ready to go and put you in the ground. They're going to retire your baseball cap. They're closing the tiki bar. What would you like to have inscribed on your tombstone?
Okay. It seemed like a good idea at the time. That's it.
I love
Seemed
that.
like a good idea at the time.
I like that. That's one of the better ones. I have to say that's one of the better ones. And Eric Roberts told you about UFOs. Just to let you, because Darcy just brought it up, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
That's
Darcy was there
fantastic.
for that. It was for this premiere. It was a real swanky affair, honestly. It was premiere for this UFO movie out in LA. We won't talk about the movie itself because maybe that was anyhow, the red carpet, Eric Roberts had a brief moment in it. And as a journalist, like I said earlier, you want to avoid asking the questions everybody asks, but every so often you're like, well, I'm going to ask it anyhow because maybe that's what your boss wants, or it's a good like kind of clickbait soundbite type of thing, and who knows. Well, he proceeds to tell me a story that he hadn't told before about I forget all the details because it was so wild as it was happening. But yeah, Eric Roberts had his own UFO experiences and everything.
Amazing.
And
Aaron, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, where you're gonna be, because you are a man about town.
Right on. Well, thank you again, Tim, for having me on, and thank you for everybody that is both joining live and will be hearing this after the fact. If I missed your question or whatever, you can hit me up or contact me through Tim, and I'll try to get you a response. So AaronSagers.com, that's a good landing page for everything. I'm posting events up there as I get booked in. And if you want to see me at an event, tell the organizers. That's how we roll. I'm a hired gun. So have spooky, we'll travel. So that you can also listen to the Talking Strange podcast and YouTube show. It's an interview-based show similar to this, where I've talked to researchers, authors, celebrities, and we always work in some of their spooky stories, including Nicolas Cage, Patton Oswalt, Sydney Sweeney's been on there.
Awesome.
You can join me in on my trips. I'm going to Disney, part of the Spooky Explorers Club, an event that I'm hosting. That's in September. We have like one or two spots left because we're capping it at a small number, so it's intimate. We're going to be telling stories about Disney lore and then going into the Disney parks. And there will be, not surprisingly, a tiki party at the Permanent Vacation Tiki Bar. And then I'm heading to Ireland next year. Again, capping that at 20 people, a small, intimate affair. Fantastic. Where we're not going to be rushing people. We're not going to be hotel hopping. And it's what's called slow travel. High adventure, slow travel. So you can find all that information through AaronSagers.com. I'm also across social media, so hit me up there at Aaron Sagers. And there's probably something else that I'm forgetting. Oh, Paranormal Caught on Camera. We have new episodes airing on Sundays. We still have several more episodes dropping, so keep an eye out for that.
Aaron, you are a peach. Thank you so much for being there. Just stay on the line just for a couple seconds. You honor me for hanging out there.
Sure.
But best of all, thank you for thinking of me when I was at Manfield to make sure I made the bus. So just stay on the line for a couple seconds. Guys, you can't ask for a better person, a more knowledgeable person, and a person who is really someone who I respect. And he's just an amazing person. He wows me every time I talk to him. So guys, thank you for hanging out at the Black Cat Lounge. Thank you all for just spending your Tuesdays with me. Most importantly, thank you all for hanging out where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. Guys, ciao. See you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.